for today. I'd like to ask everybody to please silence your cell phones. We are going to get started with hearing some matters that are before the board on today's agenda. The matters that are in public hearing today are going to have a presentation which includes maps, photographs, and site plans for each of the subject properties, as well as recommendations that have been submitted by other Metropolitan departments where applicable. I have some preliminary announcements that we're going to ask the board to consider. The board has a consent agenda. This is a list of items that are on today's docket, which we are, as a department, asking for the board to approve. If you are here today wishing to speak in opposition to one of these cases, please just raise your hand after I read through that agenda item and let me know so that we can take that case off of the consent agenda for consideration by the board, and then we'll go ahead and hear it in the regular course on the docket. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and read through that consent agenda and then make sure that we don't have anyone here wishing to be heard on one of those cases. We have 5 items that we would like to ask for the board's consideration today for consent, and likewise with members of the public, the board also has opportunity if one of the members wishes to instead, rather than approving these items at this time, any one of these items can be removed from the consent agenda instead of being approved and heard in its regular course. The first case that we would like to ask the board to consider for approval is case 2023-50. This is a request for variances from the street and rear setbacks for properties located at 407, 411, and 415. Hey, Joey. Sorry about that. We're going to sort through our technical issues while I continue reading these items. So street and rear setbacks for 407, 411, and 415, 31st Avenue South. These parcels are zoned RS 7.5. The applicants are seeking to reduce the 40-foot street setback to 10 feet for the property at 415 31st Avenue South, to 15 feet at 411 31st Avenue South, and 20 feet at 407 31st Avenue South, and to reduce the rear setback to 5 feet for each parcel. Is anyone here in opposition to that request? Okay. I don't see anyone. The next case that we would like to offer for adoption on consent today is 2023-54. This is a request to reduce the rear setback from 20 feet to 10 feet for property located at 2001 Straightway Avenue in the R6 zoning district. Is anyone here in opposition to that request on Straightway Avenue? I do not see anyone. We also have case 2023-57. This is a request for a variance to permit an illuminated sign in the same location as previously approved at 115 Great Circle Road, zoned MUG. Is anyone here to speak in opposition to the case at 115 Great Circle Road? Next, case 2023-62 is a variance request to reduce the street setback to 55 feet in order to permit a covered front porch for property located at 5128 Stallworth Drive in the RS20 zoning district. Is anyone here to speak against that request? I don't see anyone at this time. And finally, case 2023-64 is a request for a variance from the landscape buffer requirements from C5 to B5 along the southerly boundary and to eliminate the landscape buffer along the westerly boundary for property located at 1032 East Trinity Lane, zone MULA. Are you here to speak in opposition to that request? Okay. Thank you. We'll reflect that that one will go ahead and be heard and amend the consent agenda to reflect items 50, 54, 57, and 62.
Move to accept. Move to adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Okay. All right. So for the applicants who just had their cases approved on consent, your case is no longer pending to be heard today before the board. So our office will reach out to you directly with a copy of the order from today's hearing, and then you may pursue the remaining items on the permit. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions on that. You're welcome to stay if you wish, but those matters have been considered and are finalized for today. I do not see any council members, so otherwise we would ask if any of them wanted to be heard at this time. So a bit of procedural information about the cases that are about to be heard in the regular course on today's docket. The remaining items are understood to be contested items, in which case, if there are parties wishing to speak in opposition to a case, all persons who wish to speak in favor of that case will have a combined 10 minutes to speak to the board. All persons who are opposed to a case would have 10 minutes to speak against the case when they're called up before the board. If there are multiple people here wishing to be heard either for or against a case, whether that's the applicant or other parties such as neighbors or other interested persons, then please know that you would need to confer amongst yourself and try to discuss how you want to divide your time, because the 10 minutes is allocated as a group. So that's 10 minutes to speak in favor of a case, altogether 10 minutes to speak against. If we call a case up today and there is no one here wishing to speak against the case, then the applicant in that situation would have 5 minutes to make a presentation. There would be no parties to respond, and then the board will consider those matters after the hearing. The Metropolitan Code of Law requires 4 votes to grant an application. So if any matter is granted or disapproved today and a party wishes to contest that decision, a party who disagrees with the outcome may request a rehearing within 60 days, or you may file an appeal by filing a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery Court within 60 days. All parties are encouraged to seek independent legal counsel before filing an appeal to ensure that all deadlines and procedures are followed. I'm about to start calling the cases up. I'll do a brief presentation with maps and so on as discussed. When you come up to speak to the board, please make sure that you push the little button that kind of looks like a little person icon. The light will come on red like this, and then you'll be able to speak. Please state your name and your address before you get started making your presentation. At this time, I think there are no other preliminary matters, so we'll get started with our hearings. First, we're going to hear case 2023-41. This is a request for a variance from the side setback requirements for a single-family dwelling and detached garage located at 1042A, Scoville Street, zoned R6A. This case was previously before the board in public hearing on May 4th and was deferred to today's date to request an executed agreement by a contractor to relocate the garage, including an estimated date of completion. I'll go through our slides, and then please note that we received that contract and I have printed it and placed it on your desk in front of you today. It appears my understanding from the contract is the estimated date of completion is going to be early September 2023. So here's the zoning map of this area. An aerial view. This is the survey that's been submitted as an exhibit. The subject property. A photo of the rear structure in question. Another photo there. And then the subject property as well as the neighboring property. At this time, are there parties in opposition? I believe I saw Mr. Fuson. You were wanting to be heard, I suppose. So then Mr. Johnson will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. And is anyone here to speak in favor of that request in addition? All right. Okay, I think so. Well, then feel free to save some of your time for rebuttal if you wish.
Good afternoon, Michael Johnson with the law firm of K. Griffin. We represent the owner of the property of the 1042 Scoville property, which is JDG Investments. This variance is only with respect to the 1042B residence. The residence is completed. The two detached garages were the subject of a previous variance that was denied. So we are now moving those garages. But the variance today is about 1042B Scoville, which is the lighter brick property shown on the right of the current photo. Rather than it being 5 feet from the property line, and let me say there are competing surveys there, but from the 1044 surveyor's property line, it is anywhere between 4 and 3.1 feet. So we're seeking a variance just with respect to that variance with respect to 1042B Scoville in the residence. The last time we were here, May 4, we were asked to get a contract with a builder with respect to the moving of the garages. We have that. The builder's Renovative Building Group. They're going to serve as the general contractor. They've already had their surveyor out there who staked the property, and I was hoping to have the survey back by now. We don't. But the new survey showing where the buildings are going to be moved to, at which point, once we have that survey, supposedly any day now, we will be getting the permit to move the garages, at which point we are told it will take 60 days or less, theoretically. And that's where that September 2nd completion date came from, is that's sort of what the target is. We're hoping it'll be done sooner than that, but that's where we are. And as soon as we get that survey and get it over to codes, we'll be able to start the demo and start moving those garages.
Mr. Johnson, just so we're clear for the record here, I understand that there was a competing survey, but under the survey that your clients had prepared, if that survey were deemed valid, there would be no variance needed, correct?
Correct.
In essence, there's no, your client built relying upon that survey within what was permitted.
That's right. So our clients are JDG is husband and wife. It's an HPR. They built one house here for themselves, the other house to sell. The buyer is here today, right behind me, of the 1042B unit that we're talking about here today. The builder was Phoenix. Phoenix hired the surveyor at all times, thought their surveyor was correct, and if that surveyor is correct, and to this day it's arguable, there is no need for a variance. But we, in order to sort of just make sure there's no issue here, we are assuming for the purposes of the variance today that the competing survey is correct, because in that case we would in fact need a variance.
And maybe I'm totally out to lunch here and missed it, but I thought what happened last time was you had a variance request pending for the detached structure and that we deferred that.
That was actually denied based on the opposition from the Fusons, the neighbors. So the variance on the garage was denied, 1042B garage, which according to the neighbor's survey is very, very close to the property
Okay,
line.
you're refreshing my recollection. Now, this thing's been up, I think, 3 times.
It has.
So it's,
Yes.
so all you're requesting today is that 1 foot variance or between the two structures.
Correct.
And and our concern at the last meeting was that we wanted to make sure you had a contract in place to move the detached structures before we ruled on that variance. Okay, all right. Thank you
Correct,
for helping me refresh my recollection about it.
You had mentioned it was between 3.1 and 4 feet. Is there, because I think we probably need to have an idea of like what the number is going to be, that the variance, so I don't know what you're asking.
It's because it's the house is slightly tilted.
Okay.
And so it is 4 feet from the property line, according to the neighbor's survey, at the front corner.
Okay.
3.1 at the back. So it kind of slowly creeps toward that 3.1 number.
And what's the variance requirement? 5? Is it?
5 feet, yes.
Okay. Well, it looks like you got this contract just in the nick of time.
You know how things go these days. Yes, I couldn't get it signed until this morning.
Right, yeah, I see you June 13th, so, any further questions for Mr. Johnson? Okay, you've got some rebuttal time left, 5 minutes and 16 seconds, so.
I can reserve that for rebuttal unless there's any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, we'll hear from the opposition.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joey Fuson. I've been here a few times on this matter, and it's actually the only time I've been in front of you guys is on this matter, so I'm learning a lot. The long and the short of it is, and I won't take 10 minutes of your time, is that we don't have confidence at this point. We believe it's still premature. Now, as of yesterday, I got a copy of a contract that indicated September. Had previous communications indicating it was going to be this summer. We also, as you've pointed out, as it relates to what's being done in the back, we don't have a survey yet. It sounds like that's soon to be coming, and there's still pending before the codes to get a permit. So there's things that still have not happened that are of concern to us. We've been here quite a bit. We've had, as we've expressed to you before, concerns as it relates to the actions of not the future owner of 1042B who's here today, but as it relates to the contractor, the surveyor, and the landowner. We don't have confidence that this is going to be done. Now, there's a contract, which we found out yesterday, which is a good step forward. It's the first step forward. There are other steps we believe need to be taken. And as it relates to the property line, we keep going back and forth about the dispute, but I think the reality is at this point, according to the attorney, we have not seen the survey, but that they are acknowledging for the purposes of moving the garages, the property line of my client, the survey done there, and that the future garage moving will comply with codes as it relates to the moving of the garages. We just haven't seen that yet. So it puts us in a tough position where we want to allow them to move in the home. We don't have any opposition to that. There's no damages, as I expressed to you guys last time when you asked me specifically what harm is it causing my client for this homeowner not to live in that home for that 1+ foot encroachment or variance requested for the home today. And that's not the issue. The issue is we're just taking these baby steps. And if the court grants that request today, and they previously, your board previously decided not to separate the garage and the home. So they were together in a sense. And I know that we've kind of pushed away from that with this idea is that they come to you guys with some information that supports a contract and a completion date. I just submit that may not be enough. And it puts us in a tough position where if nothing happens, if that's not followed through, if codes rejects it, there's not a permit, we're kind of just left here. And that's my concern I want to express to the board. And I ask you guys to defer it again. And I'll take any questions, and I don't have any more argument to make.
So one question, I guess, what I could see, I understand you wish there were more done, and I get that. I guess looking at it from the applicant's position, I mean, before they start shelling out a lot of money, especially the cost of moving these two garages, which they're willing to spend, it looks like $150,000. Don't they need assurance from us that they have this variance? I mean, trying to sort out here, how is it that they don't need that before they proceed with moving these buildings and getting the surveys, and they're getting the survey apparently, so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the same would apply with the survey and the permits, so I don't know which comes first. I would have hoped they would have had something we could look at and see what survey they're basing it on, where it's going to be moved, how it's going to be moved. Yesterday, or actually this morning maybe, somebody out there spray painted some corners that to me indicated that the property line may even be further over, where they may actually maybe even be encroaching based on some of these markers we're seeing. So that's why I was hoping to see a survey. We haven't seen that. Maybe the board could put it in a position where they gave them some kind of conditional approval and then set this back to where we could see if it was done, to allow my clients to have some finality here. They don't want to keep paying me to be here. I promise you that. And they've got their damages, as I've expressed to you in the past. It sounds like lay in negligence by a contractor and by a surveyor. And so that's something we'll have to take up elsewhere, but that's our position. And
You
again,
want to see the survey to make sure that wherever they're moved to this time around is okay with you and comports with your client's survey, correct?
yeah, I would have
In
hoped
terms
to
of the setbacks.
absolutely, and I'd hoped to have seen that before today. I mean, it seemed like there was enough time between the last time and here to have that done. Again, I'm not out looking for surveyors, so I don't know exactly the lead time, but it looks like right after the hearing, I got a receipt from looks like a WP Camp and Sons. That was just May 10th that we're out at the property. And then the next thing we've got is a contract signed 2 days ago. So, that was arguably a month in between there to have us something to look at to see. But again, that's where our lack of trust, I guess, comes in. And if there's a way this board is able to scratch both itches and say, in essence, yes, you have our approval to move forward, and we'll set this back to make sure we've got all the approval done. We've got a survey to look at. To us, at this point, we've been at this long that we believe that's the proper step. And that's our position.
A Metro Codes question. The owner of 1042B cannot occupy the home until the garages are moved, is that correct? Because we denied the request for the setback for the garages, and that's why they're moving them. And unless the garages are moved, the owner cannot move into the residence of 1042Bs. Am I understanding that correct?
I believe we had held the UNO on the house pending the move of the others. Both homes were in limbo at the time. We did release 1044, allowed occupancy on that one. But I think we were kind of holding UNO on the house as sort of the carrot to make sure it gets done pending this. So,
If the variance is granted for 1042B, though, I mean, the UNO could be issued on it?
yes, it could.
Okay.
And just in response to that, I don't know if there's a way that the UNO could be granted without that variance being granted so we could see it finalized. And I don't know the answer to that, unfortunately.
Probably not would be the answer.
No, I would not release a UNO until a variance occurs on the structure itself. The garage itself, I'm not as concerned about. I mean, it can get moved. But for the home, the variance for the residents needs to occur.
Any further questions for Mr. Fuson? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Johnson, you've got 5 minutes and something seconds left.
Thank you. I won't take full 5 minutes, obviously, but I did just want to respond to a couple points there. Everything from the opposition is bringing up has to do with the garages and alleged damage that was caused apparently during construction or from delays due to the builder. This today in 1042B variance has nothing to do with those issues. We are just trying to resolve the 1042B variance. The garages are going to have to still be moved. Still somebody else is going to have to come out and inspect them. We're still going to, and if something goes wrong with those, this does not affect the neighbor's remedy with respect to the garages.
If you didn't move them into the correct location, then you'd either have to move them again or you'd be back here seeking another variance.
Exactly.
Because there's going to be an inspection and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. We're just trying to, ideally, this will be the last time we have to be before you. We'll get the variance on the
We hope
residents.
so. We enjoy seeing you.
Same here, and I appreciate your time. But ideally, this would be the end of the variances that we need. We would just get the 1042B residence variance, the garages would get moved, and we'd be done with it. That's the idea.
Any questions? Okay, that's
Thank
all
you.
we have. Could we hear from Mr. Fuson again? Because I have a question to ask him. Does anybody object to that? So, Mr. Fuson, can we ask you one question?
Yeah.
So would you be satisfied knowing that if we approve the variance and the buildings were moved, but they weren't moved back in compliance, that they'd either have to be moved again, which would be an incredible amount of expense, or they'd have to come back here and request another variance? Does that give you and your client any peace of mind about this?
More peace of mind for sure.
Okay.
I mean, because then at least at that point, we've got a remedy to come back, or at least we'll force them to seek a remedy that we have the ability to oppose. And yeah, and I think that what all my clients have wanted from day one is for this to get remedied. And it sounds like we're a lot closer than we've ever been. We just have a lack of trust at this point that that's going to get done. It seems to be always right before, we're kind of put in a tough spot of having everything we need to make that decision.
And it doesn't sound like your clients have an issue with a UNO being granted on the residence and stuff, correct?
No, and I was saying earlier, I was specifically asked that question: what harm would it cause? And there's not anything. We've got and I think some of the board members have made a point that this variance that they're looking at between the homes is actually less than some variances you grant in the area. So I'm not going to sit here and argue about that. I don't think that's an issue that we've got.
And so I'd ask the zoning administrator, is that correct? If these are moved, then a safety net is built in for the opposition, because if they're not moved correctly with respect to the variance, they'd either have to come back for another variance, which I don't think anybody would look on favorably at this point, or they'd have to move the buildings again. Is that safety net built in? And
Yes, sir.
understand it?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Discussion. Come on, we can all discuss it one more time. We've had it up here.
I think we should move forward and let Metro Codes handle the rest of it and grant the variance request.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just I guess we'd want to make it clear that whatever variance we approve only applies to the as-built structure at 1042B, as it's current, based upon the current building footprint, such that it's, I want to just to be clear that there's nothing that would be deemed as any wiggle room to, give an inch, take a mile type scenario.
I have one question. I mean, this is my first meeting, but I've seen the previous board meetings on this particular case. How can we be sure where the ultimate property line ends up? I know that's
That's probably right now the $72,000 question.
I was assuming that when these two garages are moved, they're going to be moved consistent with the survey of the opposition, because I think that's the position the applicant is taking is, rather than go fight this in Chancery Court and have a boundary dispute, we'll work from the opposition survey. And as I understand it, the zoning administrator can correct me, that's how Metro would look at it when they go back and determine the setback. Yeah. They're going to adopt and assume that the opposition survey is correct. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. My assumption too is that, they're probably ever mindful of the survey issues on both sides, such that they're not going to move it in a way that potentially encroaches on the other side. So, yeah.
So is that a motion from you or both of you? Or okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I make a motion that we approve the variance solely for the as-built residential structure at 1042B Scoville Street. The variance being 1.9 feet at the rear to 1 foot at the front.
As
built, or, and then due to the unique circumstances surrounding the survey, in as much as they create a lot shape that is questionable, and that it's not the hardship of the applicant and no harm to neighboring property.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Yes, it's Joe's problem. One of many for Joe, I guess. Okay, thank you all. Next case.
If y'all want to come back in a couple weeks just for the heck of it, you can.
Yeah.
Case 2023-55. This is a request to reduce the street setback from 15 feet to 5 feet, to reduce the rear setback from 20 feet to 5 feet, and to increase the height control plane from 38 feet to 30 feet. That must be 30 feet to 38 feet for an adaptive residential development located at 625 West Trinity Lane, zoned CL. Here we have the zoning map, an aerial view. And this is what the site looks like today, as well as the streetscape there along Trinity, and the site plan that's been submitted by the applicant. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this request? Okay. On this case, we do have recommendations from the Metro Planning Department that are included in your packet. And at this time, you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation. Please state your name and address.
Good afternoon, members of the board. John Rankin, 1709 Woodland Street. Is this good? Thanks. John Rankin, 1709 Woodland Street, Nashville, Tennessee. This property, just to give a little bit of background, was originally 74 units and 4 stories. And working with the councilwoman and a few other things, we ended up reducing the complexity and massing of this to what we think better fits the neighborhood. And so we've reduced it to 33 units of townhouses. And what we're asking for, because we're literally granting right-of-way dedications, not for sidewalks, but for street widths of more than 25% of the property, including the alley, we're really getting cramped into the very center of a very long triangular shaped property. And so what we're asking for is just to reduce some of our setbacks in order that we can achieve the parking. Again, we held a public meeting, a community meeting on this. We had participation. One of the larger suggestions were from people. They were using Free Silver Road to park, wanted to be sure. They had heard that in Metro there was no longer a parking requirement, wanted to be sure we had parking, and the answer is this is outside the UZO, and we do have a parking requirement. So that was the feedback we got, just making sure they were able to still park on Free Silver Road. We're asking for these, not just for the setbacks because of the loss of property and the shape of the property, but this is also in a corridor overlay, Councilwoman Toombs's corridor overlay, which requires 75% brick. When we do a brick structure like this one, we typically like to put a brick base or a stone base around the bottom of it, and that will move our height up on top of the fact that the property slopes from the alley towards Trinity Lane, which will then even raise our porches in the front a little more. It's your typical 18 to 36 inch raised porch requirement that we see a lot in the R districts. And so we're asking for your approval to reduce these setbacks and this height in order that we accomplish this development that we're attempting.
So I have a question for you with respect to the site plan that's up. it looks like your request is to reduce the rear setback, which would be along the public alley from 20 to 5. Is that correct?
20 to 10,
20 to 10. Okay.
yes.
Metro Planning has 20 to 5. Okay. So you want it 20 to 10.
Correct.
Okay. I was going to ask you why you had a 10-foot line in. That answers the question. So, okay.
That's why.
20 to 5 is on free silver, though, correct?
Free Silver and Trinity, well, Free Silver would be from 15 to 5.
Okay. And,
Because the street setbacks in this district are 15 feet.
okay.
So we're asking for 15 to 5 along Free Silver and Trinity, which is where we give up the most property, to be honest.
Okay.
11 and a half feet on Trinity. I do not possess the planning recommendation or other, I don't have that document, not seen it, but I can answer any questions about it.
Yeah, and they're okay with a couple conditions, except they are not okay with the rear setback going from 20 to 10 or the reduction or the increase in height along Free Silver. Have you not seen their recommendation?
I have not been provided it, no. Again, we'd love to, Free Silver is not critical. It's really Trinity. Because Free Silver is on the side of the slope coming down from the back. So Trinity is really where we need it the most. But I don't know why that, with the amount of dedication we're giving, there's a really big front yard still off of Free Silver.
Yeah, the planning recommendation, it recommends approve with conditions on the front setbacks at Free Silver and Trinity, and the increased height at the setback along Trinity. It does not recommend approval of the reduction of the rear setback or the increased building height along Free Silver.
Potentially, if I could just, and I only have 2 more minutes to address each one. T4MU policy is certainly setbacks are shallow and regular. In fact, in another case I saw, they were recommending along Charlotte 0 feet. So it doesn't. So the conditions are minimum right of way in accordance with the major street and collector plan, and we are. That's why we are losing 25% of our property. And the building facade,
because of the dedication along West Trinity Lane.
Trinity and Free Silver and the alley.
How much are you dedicating on the alley? Remind us.
It's 4 feet, all the entire distance. So the building facades along the streetway shall be designed with the prominent entries, absolutely, 100%. In fact, that's in the CDO. And they did recognize that it is in a CDO. So if I'm looking at the conditions, so the staff does not recommend, the planning staff does not recommend the reduction of the rear setback or the increased building height along Free Silver.
I think it would have helped if you had provided us some elevations so we could see the slope that you're talking about
Right.
and the actual, where the height difference is, and could see what was being built along the alley. Because I see you have garages
Right.
along the alley, which isn't, that offensive of a thing to be along an alley, but I don't know what you have above the garages, and they're concerned with the proximity of the building to the alley.
Well, if I look at the conditions here that they say, obviously minimum right of way, that's something we would have to do no matter what. And then the building facades along the street shall be designed with prominent entry, unquestionably. And so what they're saying is they don't agree with the increased height on Free Silver Road. And we're happy to have that as a condition of this approval, to not have an increased height on Free Silver, but just on Trinity.
You're good with that?
Yes, we're good with that.
All right.
We don't really need it on Free Silver, the height. We just really need it at the lowest point, which is down on Trinity.
And what about the rear setback? There are comments about the rear setback.
Members, if I can comment here. I think I disagree with planning. I would actually interpret the rear setback as being on the eastern property boundary.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, the rear setback's not going to be the alley. It's going to be the eastern property line in this case. I'm looking at, when we deal with lots of unequal length, the front, for purposes of setback, is supposed to be the shortest lot line, which would be free silver. That would make the eastern boundary, the 44.17, the.
But even though Metro Planning may have referred to it wrong, their Metro Planning is still talking about this setback that borders the alley.
Yeah, but I guess the issue I've got with that is the setback along a side property line in CS is 0. So there would be no setback required there. And I think, I mean, just my eyes, I got an irregular shaped property and they're taking more right away. I'm getting further pinched. I mean, to the effect it would assist the board and eliminate any confusion. I would not declare that northern boundary a rear setback anyway. So
you wouldn't consider that a rear setback?
no, sir, would not.
So what would the side setback be requirement?
The side is 0.
Okay.
Yes, sir. There is no side yard setback requirement. Now he'll have.
Well, that's a big difference.
Well, to fit this in correctly with the drive aisle for fire marshal access and everything, we need 10 feet off the alley and 5 feet off of the property lines along Free Silver and West Trinity. We don't need the height increase on Free Silver, but we do need it on Trinity Lane. And we have reduced this thing from 74 units with parking decks to this to make it a more neighborhood friendly. I'll be honest with you, what we've seen down the road is people blasting and like doing amazing things, but it doesn't seem to fit. And so we've just provided here 33 townhouses instead of 4 stories and 74 units.
Members, the code section is 1712.030. It's C6, and it says the front facade of a principal structure on a corner lot that has lines of unequal length abutting streets shall be oriented to the shorter lot line, except where the zoning administrator determines that the longer makes more sense. But in this one, we can eliminate a variance by declaring Free Silver at the front.
Well, isn't this a special exception?
It is. This would be, this is, the SE comes anyway as far as having to come to this board, but we can at least pull one piece of that pie off for your consideration.
Any further questions from the applicant? Okay, thank you, sir. We
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all.
And there is no opposition, as I understand it, so we'll close the public hearing and discuss.
I don't have any issues with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shape of the lot is definitely a pretty clear oddity.
It's also a special exception.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't understand. Planning says they want reducing the rear setback would not allow for a degree of separation between the alley and the proposed development. But I mean, it is an alley. I didn't quite follow that, but was that a motion from?
I will move to approve the special exception request for the front setbacks from the street on Free Silver and West Trinity Lane, as well as the approving the height to be 38 feet along West Trinity Lane.
How about the rear setback? Did you mention that?
I didn't because zoning administrator took that off the table.
Oh, did you take that? I didn't understand you took it. Okay, so sorry, I missed that.
Height on Free Silver.
Right, it was only to have 38 feet on West Trinity Lane.
Okay. Did they not request it on Free Silver? Or-
They did, but I didn't put that in the
Okay.
motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah. Cool.
Good enough to second? Oh, second, okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Okay, that passes.
Next, we have case 2023-58. This is a request to permit a fence which has been constructed in excess of the permitted height within the street setback for property located at 516 Van Treese Road, zoned RS 20. Here's the zoning map of this neighborhood, an aerial photo. Just zoomed in on the aerial photo of the house in question. The photo was taken before the fence was constructed, or at least I wasn't able to see it in the photo, but this is on the property as it exists today. Some more views of the corners, just for consideration regarding visibility, and the survey that's been submitted by the applicant. Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this request? Seeing none, sir, if you would please state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Yes, my name is Joe Davis. I live at 516 Van Treese Road. Bought this house in 2011, had existing metal fence. The wooden fence is replaced. Sorry, a little nervous. 2014, we saw a house that had a fence in the front, just like mine, in Inglewood. Came down to the city, asked about permits, any kind of special feet, got the same little line, took pictures of what we were doing. They said it was fine. I've got the receipt, the original receipt of the fence, so it has the correct height of 6 foot in the front and 8 foot on the sides. I gave that to Mr. Barlow's when I guess, come and talk to him about it. It's been there since 2014. I got a letter last year in September that I guess my neighbors didn't like it, or somebody didn't like it, at 504 Van Treese, and that's why I'm here. I had to get a survey, sent out about 141 letters, cost me about $1,500. But like I said, before I did all this stuff, I made sure before I put all that money in that fence to make sure NES came through there, they were fine. The water company, Google Fiber drills through there, they go through codes, and nobody complained about it except my new neighbors. They got me plenty of time to get a surveyor, to find a reasonable surveyor, and that's why I'm here. Some of the pictures that I have, I talked to somebody about my survey, and they said I would be able to present the pictures without, I guess, presenting them to y'all. It shows 8 other properties. There's a daycare in Inglewood right off Gatton Road. Same thing. I've got 8 other houses. Same situation. Utilities in front. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the applicant?
Just so I understand, you've had this, and it's been there just hanging around since 14?
Yeah, there's the original receipts.
Oh, I know, it's all right. I don't need to see it. I just wanted to make sure so we're almost at 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There was a letter from, I guess, a neighbor in the packet that said that you'd had vehicles, there are issues with vehicles. I saw there's a sign that's, I guess it looks like there's a street that dead ends right in front of your house.
Yes.
And
there's no, it's like here and you take a left or right.
Okay. And have you had vehicles that have come into your yard before or have run in?
In 2011, 2012,
Okay.
They thought, I don't know, nobody's familiar with Madison. Saunders is a long, varying road that goes to East Nashville and Hart Lane.
Yeah.
There was a police chase, and the woman thought she was on Saunders, hit that last hill.
Yeah.
She couldn't hit the brake, slid through. They've since put a sign up there. They got speed tables now.
Okay.
Yeah, I addressed that situation because that happened.
Okay.
And then the fence was built, and then.
And you also got cars that are, is there a stop sign there, I'm assuming?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you got cars coming up and there's lights that would be shining into your residence if that fence were.
When the fence was metal, yes, sir.
Okay.
Any further questions for that? Okay, thank you, sir. We'll close the public hearing and discuss.
Thank you.
Anyone? Mr. Laws looks like he's cooking something up, but he's not pushing his red button, so.
No, I'm not touching mine. Go ahead, Robert.
to my understanding, there is a rule on max height on fences in the front of your property. It's mainly due to safety, pulling in and out of your driveway for egress and not, coming in oncoming traffic. I should have asked this question when he was here, but he mentioned that, he spoke with Metro codes. And I just don't have that in front of me, so I don't know if you have that offhand, what the.
No, I'd be happy to. Solid fences, so being a new member, I'll give you a little history, kind of for everybody's benefit for fences. We as a department have tried for several years in the past to require permits for fences. So we can have these discussions on the front end before somebody goes and hires a contractor and spends a lot of money for a nice fence, and go over the provisions in the zoning code that have restrictions for fences. So for solid fences, those would be fences we deem is not open. So not open is any fence that's less than 50% opaque. For instance, if I have a 2-inch picket, I've got to have a 2-inch space before the next picket. Anything less than that would be considered opaque. So for us, opaque fences in the front yard, the first 10 feet from the right of way cannot exceed 2.5 feet in height. And once I clear that 10-foot mark, and that's for the purpose you just described, to allow neighbors to back out of driveways and see around it, or at intersections and that sort of thing. And then once I clear that 10-foot mark, I can go up to 6 feet until I hit the front plane of that house. In this case, I hit the front corners of the residence. And then from the front corner around the rear to the other front corner, coming back around, we can do 8 feet. And that can be at the property line. There's not a minimum setback off the property line. But the Metro Council, prior Metro Councils in their infinite wisdom, didn't think permits were necessary. This department with the new council coming in September, we're going to try again, and try to convince folks that permits are a great idea. One to avoid things like, for instance, Tom's face said it all. I mean, this fence has been up for years, but there's no statute of limitations for zoning violations. So it's one of those that we get a call from a neighbor and like this gentleman, in his own testimony talks about, it's sort of how it spawns. He gets cited and, either makes the changes or comes to the board and then, oh, look, what about these other 6? And we go out there and cite those folks. So here we go. If we could require permits on the front end, I think it would solve a lot of problems and headaches. But the law is clear on solid fences. Chain link fences or other open fences like picket can be 6 feet in height all the way to the right of way out front. And same heights apply, 8 feet from front corner around to the front corner again. That's your little primer. I won't bore you with the corner lots. It's a little bit different scenarios with corner lots. But
Mr. Ransom, your light was on. I was wondering if you were.
I mean, to me, it's my understanding that there is obviously rules and regulations regarding fences that you just laid out, but there's no required building permit for it. And this is exactly why.
We do not require a permit. This is the exact reason why I would love to require it, not from any sort of need to regulate people's property, but to avoid situations like this where someone spends thousands of dollars putting up a fence and then gets cited for it. If we could have that conversation on the front end, it would be great. And we encourage folks, anybody that watches this, if you're looking to build a fence, please call our department and let's talk about that.
Yeah, and permitting would make a clearer record of.
Absolutely.
So I guess my question is, we've got a representation that called up and was told it would be fine. If we had a permitting system, we would be able to know if that was the case.
We would know if that's the case. And I'm not in any way say that the applicant is misleading y'all.
Sure.
They're not reputable contractors in this county either. So.
The issue is more, we don't have any record indicating that that's not the case.
No, that would be a great reason why we should permit these.
Yeah.
And for point of clarification, my last point on this, you said it was 10 feet back from the right of way, but
Yes,
then
sir.
once it reached the property line, you go to 6 feet or to the corner of the house.
From 10 feet from not from pavement, and which is also a little bit of confusion we have with homeowners. It's from what the city owns, so which is why you really want to get a surveyor. But from once we cross that 10-foot mark, coming back into the property that they own. From that point back, it can be 6 feet tall.
Got it. So you got to basically come back 10 feet from
You
the
do.
front of your property line, which is the end of the right of way.
Yes,
wherever
sir.
That is.
Yes, sir. We've had some cases that have come to this board. We've had some unique ways that people can form, pull out boards and go back with kind of a chain link on the inside to make it open, to create some uniformity. 10 feet would do that. But I also am sympathetic to the applicant. I mean, we run into this frequently.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a clear violation of the code, but I always have an issue when these things are sitting there for 10 years and then
Yeah.
somebody drops a dime, that use the old expression, and then doesn't even show up at the meeting. So
Right,
I'm
yeah.
the one that, I mean, if they really have an issue with it that's big enough that they ought to show up and say, look, here's why I'm waited 10 years. I just moved in and I live next door. I mean, I agree. And I will say that if you drive around Nashville, there are so many fences that are non-code compliant.
Well-
We would,
Well, and I think, I tried to, I think Mr. Lawless laughed at me when it was pretty clear I was trying to elicit some testimony about a potential hardship regarding the fact that this is at the end of a street that turns right and left and that there's headlights and potential cars. But I mean, to be fair, I do think that is a legit concern. I mean, everybody's seen the way that people drive in this town sometimes. It's, people are fast and
You don't think the Nashville drivers?
fast and furious. And I'm sympathetic to the nature of the property being where it actually is located insofar as creating a circumstance. So I'll make a motion that we approve the fence as constructed.
okay, there's a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? 2 opposed? 3 opposed? So how
So
many
it's
do
four,
we get?
you had 4.
Can we do it again? All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Okay, there's 4 to 3. Okay. So that passes 4-3.
It'll be there for another 10 years.
Case 2023-63 is a request for a variance from the maximum height requirements to construct a detached structure behind the principal dwelling at 4606 Medora Street, zoned RS 20. For you here is a copy of the zoning map of this area. Everything shown here, at least on this same side of the river, is zoned single family. This is the aerial view of the neighborhood. This is the principal dwelling at the subject property. There's a photo of the full property to the top. You can see there's an existing rear structure there, and then there's a closer photo down below of the rear structure that's there presently, as well as a bigger view of the backyard, a street view. This is a copy of the site plan that's been submitted. So it appears that the proposed structure would be generally where the current rear structure is placed. These are renderings of the proposed structure. In fairness, I think there are some departmental concerns regarding the use that's being proposed insofar as bedroom use, kitchen use, and bathroom use are noted on the layout. Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this request? I don't see anyone, and so, sir, if you would please state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Mitch Meese. I live at 4606 Medora. And we moved in 2019 to a home that looked like the current detached garage. We did a renovation on it and an addition at the time. We are looking for a height variance from 16 feet up to just under 23 feet, which is slightly shorter than the main residence. One quick note on this here, I'm trying to do this as cost effectively as possible. So this is a cheaper architect. We do not plan to have any living space in this. This is not a dadu. This is only for flex space and have a garage on the bottom and some flex space on top. So we're hoping to actually remove that current structure that's there. It's falling over, and rebuild one that's slightly bigger and slightly taller. I believe this would all be fully legal if the if the structure was attached to the primary residence, but for a few reasons, I don't think that makes sense. One is the shape of the lot. It's long and narrow. We would pretty much be side setback to side setback. Two is that all the neighbors oppose that. They'd much rather not see a house that looks gigantic that has a garage attached to it, but much rather hide this garage back in my property next to big trees that nobody ever sees it. And I've talked to all neighbors on all sides, and they seem to agree with that. And then three, we personally don't love the aesthetic of garage doors facing the road. And if we moved it to the back, we can actually rotate those garage doors. We think keep a character that's closer to the neighborhood character. This does have Councilwoman Emily Benedict's support, and I believe that she sent an email to Joey. If not, I've got some copies here for approval.
Why do you need the extra 5 feet of height? That's
Sure. The biggest reason is that without that height, we can't have the space we're looking for out of the garage. And so,
above the garage.
yes, sir. Yeah. So the space will hopefully be used for homeschooling space as well as just general flex space. That's the point. The existing structure, as you can see, had a 45-degree pitch too. We're gonna put it down to, I believe it's a 2.6 pitch, which gives us more head height on that second floor.
Any further questions for the applicant? Okay, well, thank you. We'll close the public hearing and just go. Do you have a question?
I do have a
Yeah,
question.
sorry about that.
What's the head height on the second floor? I can't tell from.
So the head height on the second floor is, it's 8 foot to the sill, and then it goes up and would be vaulted in the center. So it's
So it's 8 foot essentially. If I'm looking at this design at the hallway at the top of that double plate on the right, you're telling me that's 8 feet across that dashed line?
yeah, exactly. Well, that's 8 foot head height, so it'd be 16. What does that say there? Hold on.
I guess the peak.
The peak is 2210 total.
Maybe I'm not, excuse me if I'm not being clear. I guess from the finished floor
Yep.
of the second story to the peak of, are you telling me
That
that?
would be 12 foot 10 inches from the finished to the peak, which pretty much means when you walk to the edge of the building that you're going to have adequate head height next to the windows. So that'll be 8 foot at the sides, and it goes up to a max 12 foot at the top. So for example, if I didn't have that extra height variance and I moved it down to 16 foot, there would be knee walls brought in so far that there is no room to actually have adequate space above.
Yeah, I'm not.
You remind me the reason why it needs to be constructed as a detached instead of as being attached to the principal structure?
Sure. The three reasons I laid out were that it doesn't match the aesthetic and just the charm of the neighborhood. All the other neighbors have detached garages, 4 on my specific street, one of which has flex space like this above a garage. 2, that the property, the shape of the property just doesn't use it effectively at all. It would take up side setback to side setback and would be different shaped and smaller than we're hoping for. And then 3 is that all the neighbors also just agree. They wouldn't want to see a monstrosity of a house. Instead, they could, barely see a garage that's pushed way back.
Thank you.
When you say flex space, what is flex space?
Sure, just multi-purpose space. So what we've laid out there is a bathroom, like a a general living room where you could do anything from homeschooling to, have a Bible study of some type or anything else. And then just a small office space in the back. So that's what we've laid out and hopefully used for homeschooling space. But
So is the intent to not have the bedroom?
it's just, if you think of it as a room, it would just be a room. There's zero intent to have anybody live in this structure. It would be on, the same utilities, the same everything. This is not a dadu. Just an accessory
So would you
structure.
be willing to get rid of the tub and shower?
Sure.
Mr.
Yeah, so the
Cole.
original intent of that was because I have young kids, and if they're eating up there, sometimes it's easier just to toss them in a bath. I'm sure some of you guys remember that.
Yeah, just for purposes, since this is not intended to be a dadu, as he's testified, we would permit toilet and hand sink, bar sink at a maximum. No sleeping quarters, bathing facilities, kitchens, nothing like that. No.
Any more questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. We'll close the public hearing and discuss.
Thank you.
He may not intend it as a dadu, but it's being built like a dadu. And someone in the future may purchase the house and may turn it into a dadu. And dadus are not allowed in the RS zoning district. And also there's a 16-foot maximum height allowed, and that's what the regulations are. That's what the zoning code says. So I don't see a need for a variance that's nearly 7 feet.
I
That's where
concur.
stand.
It looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. Even if you don't want to call it a duck, doesn't mean that it's not a duck.
Well, I don't know, that issue's very on point. I just also don't know what the hardship is here. I mean, I can't put I don't think anybody, I'm open to it. I don't know that anybody could articulate a hardship that would permit us, even if we wanted to allow it.
I mean, my understanding, the hardship was that to meet the height requirements, you wouldn't have enough space upstairs for flex space, but I think, you can make amendments to this plan, lowering the second floor height, still having a garage tall enough to fit cars or anything else, and then still adjusting the second floor to still have plenty of space up there. It's a large footprint, so perhaps maybe the architect the applicant used didn't present, an alternative set of plans. I'm speculating on that, but, and yeah, I agree. I mean, it's, I don't even think it's necessarily that disguised as not being a dadu. I mean, it shows full kitchen and everything in the plans here, so.
Yeah, I was gonna, I would be comfortable. I think that sort of hits on the point of I think I'd like to see a little more effort in terms of trying to meet the requirement before determining there's a hardship, because I do understand the concept of attaching it being difficult with respect to the nature of how the lot is set up right now. But at the same time, I think going back to at least having, but my point is, I'd be willing to waive the period of time to be able to come back before us if there's more, if the applicant is able to, is truly not able to comply with the code and show it again. But I don't know if anybody else would be open to that, but.
I guess I could be open to it, but to me, you could come back and, if you come back and ask for, instead of 5 feet, 2 feet, I still can't find a hardship here. And, it's not, that's just a threshold I think we have to have, whether it's 1 foot or 4 feet. And I just don't see how it's I'm open, but,
I agree with you, Chairman. I think Mr. Bradford did help and ask twice what the hardship was, and I listened twice to the 3 reasons, and none of those reasons were a hardship. I think you have to connect the hardship to the request, and they haven't necessarily done that. Like, what's a condition on the land that justifies the request of the height, as you just said, Mr. Chairman? And I don't see one.
That's my hang up.
I agree on the lack of hardship. Also, does anyone else have concern that this garage has a porch? I mean, this is really looking like a dadu.
Well, I mean, I guess my concerns about the dadu idea are, I don't have as many because, I mean, it's not permitted to be one. It would not be allowed to be a dadu in that unit, I think, in that zoning district. And so, I mean, I think we can put conditions on it that it not be used as a dadu. But at the same time, I mean, for me, I think the hardship issue is probably the bigger holdup here.
I'll make a motion that we deny the variance because the hardship was not demonstrated.
There's a motion. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that application is denied. Thank you. Let me ask does the board, does anybody need to take, yeah, okay. That might have been answered. So if we're going to take about a 5-minute break and we'll be back right after that for the last 2 cases. Consent. Okay, so we're down to our last case, 64.
Okay, and this is a request for variance from the landscape buffer requirements to apply B5 requirement along the southerly boundary and to eliminate this landscape buffer along the westerly boundary for property located at 1032 East Trinity Lane. This is zone MULA. This is the zoning map of the district. As you can see, most of the parcels in this area are mixed use. There are residential parcels to the bottom right of the map, which is along Dozier Place, and you can see that the intersection there. There's a corner lot next to the subject property, and then there's the intersection. So this is the aerial view, and then you can see the intersecting area that I'm talking about. So it's residential down below, although further down past the intersection on Trinity, there's some more mixed use, which you'll be able to see in the photos. So this is the property as it exists right now. And that's the structure across the street on the bottom. And then on the top, that's the structure that you could see sort of the top of on the other side of Dozier down along East Trinity. This is the site plan that's been submitted. I believe that we have some folks here who are wishing to speak. I believe it's against the request. Okay, so you all will have 10 minutes amongst yourself. Is that you? And was anyone else wishing to speak either in favor or against this request? Of course, I know that the applicant will be here in favor. So you'll have 10 minutes. You can reserve some of that time if you would like to rebut the testimony that we will hear during the opposition phase of our testimony, and then you all will have 10 minutes between yourselves after he speaks, and then he'll have an opportunity, if he would like, to say some things to close the comments. So at this time, if you would please state your name and address before you get started.
Again, John Rankin, 1709 Woodland Street. This variance is based on a couple of important things, and that one is the shape of the property along Dozier Place ends in a very long point, and you can see what we've done with it there. That will be our stormwater catch basin in order to really prevent stormwater runoff, of course, all according to the regulations. Number two, our biggest issues, there's a sewer easement that runs along the back of the property, which we have to stay off of course, anyway. And that is where the landscape buffer would be placed, is on the sewer easement. And so between our zoning and the zoning behind, we would normally have a 20-foot landscape buffer with a solid masonry wall.
That's C5.
C5 wall. And of course, that's not allowed over a sewer easement. So what we're asking for to the rear is a reduction from C5 to B5 to do a solid wood wall with landscaping that is permitted on top of a sewer easement. So this is just an odd case where our rear lot line also is a sewer easement. So it would make it impossible to do this.
So along the southerly portion, you would have a wall and no landscaping or some landscaping?
We would have a 6-foot wood fence with 5 feet of landscaping.
Okay.
According to the regs. So we're just stepping from a C to a B in order to not have to build a masonry structure on top of the sewer line.
Which you cannot do.
Which we cannot do. They will not allow that. Secondly, I wanted to point out a couple things. If you can envision this property with a 20-foot landscape buffer down the side and a 20-foot buffer in the back, that totals 4,000 square feet. Our entire property is 18,000 square feet. And so we would be at 22% landscape buffer to our total property. And in the landscape buffer yard requirements, letter E, it says, it's titled yard excess 20% of lot area. It says in circumstances where the ground area required for the landscape buffer exceeds 20% of the total lot area, the width and number of trees and shrubs within the yard may be reduced up to 50%, provided that a solid wall or closed wooden fence, and that's what we're proposing, at least 6 feet in height, and that is what we're proposing, is provided along the length of the reduced landscape buffer yard. So there's a lot of reasons for this, for us to do this. The side has a landscape buffer yard because somehow that parcel just to the west of us was left out of the MUL zoning. Every other parcel on that side is MUL. I'll also like to bring up is a zoning case, a BZA case, 2017-167. And this is for across the street, 1041 East Trinity Lane, received on consent a landscape buffer identical to ours, the side and the rear. The rear was reduced like ours, and the side was removed because of the adjoining zoning at MUL. So I just want to bring up across the street, we're not building a 4-story building. We're not doing that. We're much less than tents. You can see these are all townhouses. Our entrance has been placed across from the entrance for the development that's already been approved across Dozier. And so we would ask for your approval based on a few issues. And obviously, number one being the shape of our lot. If you notice with that long slender piece, we can't run them. It's strange. And number two is the sewer easement in the back prevents us from building the exact buffer that's required. And number three is the lot on the bottom of that page towards the west is designated T4MU in the CCM, and section 1724-200 of the landscape buffer requirements, quote, to take into consideration the future zoning designation of the abutting property as envisioned by the general plan. And so, we propose a 6-foot wood fence along that line, and then a 6-foot wood fence and 5 feet of landscape buffer along the back, just based on those issues alone.
What is located on the westerly line?
It's owned by a Delaware corporation. That house is a Delaware LLC, and it's a rental house on that lot right there.
And so it's zoned residential?
It's zoned R6, yes, sir. But beyond it, all the way almost down to the Y, is MUL.
And it's a leased property there at the
It's a rental property, yes, sir.
rental property?
We contacted the LLC in Delaware. They had no comment. We got a couple emails during this process from people we sent letters out to, and I have those. They were in favor. One of them, I couldn't figure out actually where they lived, but I didn't bring that with me because I don't think that's really one of the issues here. And if I could just reserve a few moments after.
I think you've got some time left, I'm sure. I don't see it on the timer, but okay, we'll figure that out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was there a question? Mr. Laws has a question for you, so
Yes.
if you would.
Talk about your landscape buffer, because as you've been here a few times before, and I'm usually talking about trees and that type of stuff. What are you anticipating using in terms of your foliage and the buffer section?
So that is spelled out, just, if you look at the requirements for the B5 buffer, the B5 buffer is a 6-foot wall or fence, 3 canopy trees for every 100 feet, 1 understory tree for every 100 feet, and 10 shrubs for every 100 feet. And they would all be on the urban forester's list of recommended trees and shrubs. That's a requirement.
So if you had a requirement that you had to work and get the approval of the urban forester for this area, that doesn't mess up your ability to move forward as long as you can work with him.
Absolutely, and that's what we'd have to do in the permitting process. The majority, the big difference is really the masonry wall aspect of it. And I understand the reason for that. It gives you something that's more permanent than wood. But you could tear down a wood fence and you wouldn't tear down a masonry wall, but it is over a sewer line.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
From the opposition, and I don't know if you both want to speak, but you have 10 minutes total, so if you want to divide it up, you can do that.
I think this mic is still on. Can everybody hear me?
Looks like it, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, first off, I don't do this regularly. I'm just a homeowner.
Okay, can you state your name and address
Yes,
first, please, ma'am?
Kathy Paris, Parris, and I live on Birchwood Avenue. And Birchwood Avenue is parallel to Trinity Lane and the majority of Dozier. So there's Trinity, Dozier, and then Birchwood Avenue. Everything I'm going to say, I'm not trained. Again, I feel like I'm at the principal's office and I'm in elementary school, like just sitting here. But I am very concerned about stormwater drainage. I live in one of the lower properties on Birchwood, and all of that from Trinity Lane and Dozier ultimately comes to me. And there's an easement on my property, in the back of my property, for a creek, which is not a creek, it's a drainage ditch. And I've lost, I don't know, probably more than a foot of my property over the years. We purchased the home directly out of college in 1988, and we've lived there ever since. And I've had to work within the parameters of everything that's zoned, all the sewer, all the electrical, all everything, to do what we wanted to do with our home. And I'm simply asking for that of our developers. I am not opposed to progress. I know everybody wants to live in Nashville, and it's a great thing, but why does he have to do all that on that little skinny piece of property? If it were me and as a homeowner trying to do it, I would have had to do that like within the bigger part of the property. I'm not sure where the sewer easement is on this, but I do know there's a lot of trees that have been there for a really long time since I've lived there. I want to live in what looks like a neighborhood, so I think that the masonry wall and the original setback is a good requirement, and you all have that in place for a reason. And, I'm sorry if it ruins their plans, but they should have to work within the boundaries that I, as a homeowner, have had to work, which is follow all the rules for the property. And while I logically understand that you can't build a masonry wall on a sewer line, well, just move it in some. That's what I've had to do. I tried to get a building permit to build a detached garage around the easement that is there. And I mean, we had to fight and fight and fight. This was probably 18 years ago. So I'm just asking for developers and builders to have to follow the rules that, just regular homeowners have had to deal with all these years, and work within the confines of whatever property it is they purchased. So just down the road is Gallatin Lane going towards the top of this map. And then there's a multitude of businesses there, and a traffic light to turn on Trinity Lane. There's Cookout, there's Taco Bell, there's some bars, there's a Nicolette's Italian kitchen, there's a car wash, there's so many things. So I for safety reasons, choose to cut through Dozier. And I know that that is not what Dozier residents would like. But I, for safety reasons, cut through Dozier to get to Trinity Lane. And this development is going to call for at least an additional 20 vehicles to come out on Dozier. And right past where this property is uphill and it's a turn. And I am fearful. I've already almost been in several wrecks because people are parking on that street and there's not even room hardly to pass by. People will park this way and this way on the side. And there's some business that's running out of one of the houses and they have a lot of cars and I don't know why that was allowed. I think it's 1006, which is not what we're here for today. But the point is that even though we all have great intentions, this is going to add too much to Dozier. And it won't be safe for the people who live there, who've worked all their lives to pay for their property, or are pretty much paying all their money for rent because rent is so expensive. So I'm asking on behalf of everyone that lives in this area. And I want it to look like a neighborhood. Otherwise, I would have bought a piece of property in a home in a field somewhere with the trees cut down. But I want the trees. I want the neighborhood feel. And I think that developers should have to provide that when they do stuff.
Ms. Paris?
Yes.
Do you have a son named Michael Paris?
I do.
I went to high school with him.
Yeah, Hume Fogg.
Yeah.
Yeah. We worked really hard to get into Hume Fogg. Yep. My husband is also Michael Paris. So,
Okay.
yeah, his name is on the deed, but it's not my son. I don't have anything else to say.
Any questions for Ms. Barrett? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
I appreciate your time today.
Good afternoon. Eleanor Redmond at 917 Birchwood.
Can you say your name again? I'm sorry.
Eleanor Redmond.
Okay, thank you.
I live where the sewer easement that he's speaking of, that kind of travels down and it goes down Dozier and then it comes right to my backyard. So, the thing I'm worried about, is all that water. In 2010, it was an ocean coming down my driveway because of the easement, just got overwhelmed, Of course, that was an odd circumstance, but you put more construction and concrete and less place for water to sink into the earth. It's going to come to my backyard and make my house float down the street. So that's my concern. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you've got some time left, so.
I think I just need 1 minute. I'm hearing, important things. I'm going to give them my phone number, so whatever we do here, they'll be able to contact me. All of the internal of this is pavers, pervious pavers. The detention area is just extra. We'll have a grading permit, a full grading permit from Metro. It's not infill. Our outfall will be less than exists today, and the quality will be better than exists today. That's part of the Metro stormwater regulations. We're not asking for any variance for that. We will meet every other regulation that we have that's necessary for this project. And so the stormwater aspect is what I heard a lot of, and I'm aware of that from what I've heard from them, and we'll be very, very cognizant of it. We will meet all of the stormwater regulations for Nashville. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to take them.
Well, this is kind of a question. I guess the stormwater, I understand, and I think the opposition ought to know. I mean, Metro Stormwater has to approve all this. That's really not, we're not stormwater experts, so it doesn't get past them. But, I mean, I always have concerns when you have something abutting residential and you want to reduce the buffer zone. And, I mean, here, this is a pretty drastic reduction. I mean, you're basically going from a C5, which would be 20 feet of screening and then a fence to basically a fence. How do you, And look, it's an odd piece of ground, and I do see the sewer easement, that's clearly, in my mind, a hardship on the southerly side, but I'll just tell you my concern is, that you've got a residential on the westerly side, and you're basically eliminating the buffer zone almost completely.
So Chairman, the landscape buffer requirements have it as an exception to look at the overall community character manual for that property that abuts it.
And I heard you talk about that.
It says,
if there was an exception, you wouldn't be here. That's where I wasn't following you. I mean, I know you talked about if it's 44% or whatever it was.
20%, yeah.
Why do you have to be here for a variance if there's an exception?
Well, it says that is a reason for an exception.
Okay.
It's a reason to have a variance.
And that's in the
residential
standards.
Sorry, just one moment.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd like. Because this is a hard variance case, not a special exception.
Correct. This is a variance case.
So are you saying the adoptive residential standards say that amounts to some type of hardship? I'm trying to figure out how do we calculate that into determining whether there's a hardship?
So to the south is clearly a hardship because of the sewer line. If there wasn't a sewer line, we would just build those.
That's clear to me anyway.
So to the west, in the landscape buffer yard requirement, section 1724-200, it says that when we're designating the type of landscape buffer, we consider what the general plan is for that abutting property. And to make you build a masonry wall and lose 20 feet of your property when you only have 100.
Right, I hear you, but it is designated a C5. That's where I think what you're arguing is it really shouldn't be designated a C5, but it is what, and maybe the zoning administrator can help out here, but that's what I think I'm hearing.
It says the zoning administrator may take into consideration the future zoning designation of the abutting property as envisioned by the general plan. We have not had a meeting with Mr. Hargis at this time. What we wanted to lay out we've reviewed everything to do with this project, and the only two things that we felt like we couldn't comply with for all of the regulations in Metro is the rear and the westerly setback.
Okay, and so I guess
for landscape buffer, I'm sorry.
Landscape. That I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, you have good information. I'm just trying to put the puzzle together, because if there's a way that can be worked out voluntarily without a variance, I'm not following why.
Well, there's a way to do that. This is the better way. This is the more legal way, but we'll do anyway. We're still proposing a 6-foot wood fence along that line.
Okay.
Knowing that ultimately that would probably be.
What you may be saying is if you don't get the variance, you've got another option to basically have the zoning administrator consider whether C5 would have to apply here.
Correct.
At all.
Correct.
Okay.
Probably in consult with Mr. Cavett. Stefan.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
That helps me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
For that. Yeah.
I had another question. I think you said it earlier, but I've forgotten. The property immediately to the west is zoned. Sorry, I can't hear you. The property immediately to the west is zoned.
R6.
That's R6. Okay. But your property is MUL.
And then the other properties are all MUL. If you see here, that's a perfect view of it.
I see.
It's just one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So because of the size of your lot, and Elizabeth, can you put the other one?
The site plan.
Bingo, that one. If you reduce the density of the dwellings on that, what does that do for your moving away from the sewer easement or reducing the number of cars? Because you heard the same things I did sitting up here.
Sure.
I mean, if you reduced it by one, I understand you're in this to make money. You're not in this.
We'd lose 4 units.
Okay.
Out of 10 in MUL zoning, which would force us to go vertical, force us to go 5 stories. And I don't think it's appropriate for here. That's my feeling.
And you'd be allowed to go.
We would be allowed to do that. It's MUL. like they did across the street,
You could go 5 stories.
for sure. And, 18,000 square feet. And we park cars on that, it's not what we do. It's not our product. We do townhouses, and we have homeowners.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
We
sir.
appreciate it. Discussion. If the westerly part, I mean, my concern is right now there's a residential there and it may change the way things are going in Nashville. It may change in 3 months. I don't know. And it is an odd shaped lot. I get the hardship where the sewer easement is, and that's really not that lengthy of a buffer zone anyway, but the westerly line is a pretty lengthy buffer. And I appreciate that the applicant's doing, trying to, making use of an odd shaped lot. I'm really on the fence about this one because that's just a big reduction in the buffer zone next to a residential. So, I mean, that's kind of how I see it.
And just to disclose, I'm very familiar with this area. I drive down East Trinity very often to get to Gallatin. I would like to say, we focus on that R6, it's right, it's a neighbor, but like the opposition said, if you go right behind it, all of that is residential and it's in the East Hill neighborhood, and none of that has really been upzoned. So those are still a lot of single family homes, a lot of single family zoning. So even though they upzoned East Trinity Lane a few years ago that allowed for all of these larger MLU developments, the neighborhoods behind it are still very much, they haven't changed and the zoning hasn't changed. And so to your point, Mr. Chairman, we always talk about this, Nashville's always sort of weird in its development that we have these neighborhoods right off of our corridors. And so I think the point of the landscape buffer is to allow a transition from these sort of denser developments into a neighborhood. And so I am concerned about that. I'm also concerned about losing a lot of those trees, but as you said, that's not really our issue to be concerned with because somebody else will make sure that stuff is done properly. I know Tom just shot me a dirty look when he said that, but to your point, stormwater and everybody else is in a way better position to assess that. That's not really our job here, but our job is to think about the landscape buffer, and it does seem to me like a self-imposed hardship when you're looking at 0.41 of an acre and you're proposing 10 townhomes. I understand. I know a lot of times people always well, we could do this. I understand what you could do, but I'm not looking at what you could do. I'm looking at what's proposed before me and the issue. And I feel like you got to connect the variance to the hardship. And some of this looks like your design has made this hardship worse.
Anyone else? I'm still in my mind I am really struggling with the same thing you're struggling with. Yeah, I think that there's a way, to me, there's a compromise here between losing 4 units, which I think the applicant is saying to meet the C5, but maybe if we had a proposal where it wasn't C5, but it was something more than just a fence, that's, so. Well, does anyone have a motion?
I feel like there are a lot of eyes on me right now. I really appreciate that. I'll make a motion that we deny the variance as requested because a sufficient hardship has not been shown and the hardship was not connected to the direct condition of the land.
Is that for both the westerly buffer zone request and southerly? Okay.
Yes, thank you. It is. Do you want to add that as an amendment?
Would you be willing to amend that just to make it the westerly? Because I think a hardship was shown with respect to the southerly, because you've got that sewer easement, and I think that's all you can do.
The sewer easement was there when they bought it.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but it's still, I mean, that's the case with lots of people come up here with hardships and they want to add on to their house, or they want to do something, and there's an easement there. So would you be comfortable amending that to deny it with respect to the westerly?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second?
Well, I'll second it if we can, if they can come back in within the 6 months.
I don't remember.
Joey, how fast can they come back in if we deny? 6 months. The way that they can come back in, if they can come back in and set a plan, maybe they can work maybe.
Would you accept that amendment? I mean, I would support that, because I think there's a potential compromise here. So
There's some middle ground, I just don't know what it is.
I'm with you on that. So we have an amendment. I mean, we have a motion that the variance be denied with request to the westerly side, and that we waive the requirement that they wait 6 months before reapplying. That's the motion. Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
So as I understand it, you all have a motion before you with respect only to the westerly side, and you have no motion before you at this time with respect to the southerly side?
Well, yeah, I guess that's a good point. So I guess you're saying we need to do something with the southerly side. So would you accept the amendment to approve the requested variance as to the southerly side based on the hardship of the sewer easement, denied as to the westerly side?
And then allow the applicant to come back
Right.
sooner than the 6 months in case they work out a compromise with the neighbors.
Yes. Is that good with you? And that, Ms. Waits, that solves our issue, right? We're dealing with both of those.
Yes, so to restate the motion is to deny the application with respect to the westerly side because of a lack of hardship, to approve the application with respect to the southerly side, and to waive the 6-month filing prohibition as to the westerly side if the applicant wishes to come forward again with a different site plan.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That's correct, I believe. Is that right, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second? Second, there's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
I'm in favor, I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's do all in favor again, make sure we get it right. So that's, okay, all opposed? And not voting? Okay, so that's 5-4, 1, 2, 5-2-1, okay, 5-2-1, okay. 5-1-1, okay. 5-1-1, okay, thank you, applicant, thank you, opposition.
Is that the call before you take number?
Is that new math that he skipped over?
Oh, and so just officially, that's our last case?
Yes, at this time, we are able to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, before we adjourn, we just want to welcome Robert Ransom, the new member of the board here, to who just today's his first meeting, so welcome.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? All right, we're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.